Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 28th of December 2014. And this is the last show before the new year. So we are doing the annual review. And you have myself, Steve, and we have Mary in the studio.
All locked.
all locked. All clank of the glasses. Say hello, Mary.
Hiya. Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Right, okay, now, before we actually crack on and have a chat with Mary and go through a few bits and pieces, let's find out what the communication channels are. Let's ask Mary.
Can you remember?
No, trick question.
Okay, well, let's just press this little button over here. So
the communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, you can contact us oymradio.com. You can log in to the live chat. On the left-hand side, you will see the live chat button. Just click on that, log in with your real name or the make-you-up one, and you can join in the chat. We're also going to be monitoring the chat on the People's Internet Radio as well, so hi to all the guys and gals over there as well. We also have the anti-social media Facebook. You're more than welcome to check us out there as well. And YouTube, we've got a YouTube channel. For what it's worth, you can see all the interviews. Well, you can hear all the interviews over there and see some nice pictures. And I believe our Merry Christmas song, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, is over there at the moment. I believe it's a favourite on YouTube. I think it's gone platinum at this moment in time. I speak the truth. I speak the truth. Yes, sorry, 0469271212 is the magic number. Again, if you want to ring in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 003534692711212. Alan.
I tell you, I've been pestered by Simon Cowell, but I just told him to get lost. You know, Stockade from Waterman giving us phone calls and everything else. Now, look, it's Christmas. I told them before, don't annoy me. If they want us, we'll have to chat after Christmas. Maybe. We'll see what we can do with the record anyway.
Yeah, the album's in the pipeline anyway.
That's it, yeah. We've been working on the album for
next year. Hope you gave him a PayPal email address.
Well, we'll have to do that as well. You have to do that. Now, before we get in and talk about the few bits and pieces that we normally do, before we do the annual review, we need to sort out this Mary thing, don't we?
We have to put it to bed.
We have to
put Mary to bed.
We have to put it to bed. Now, Steve, tell us why you mentioned the word Mary when we start doing the voiceovers.
Well, when we start doing the voiceovers, I think we both agreed that, you know, we needed a woman's voice, a female voice to do it.
So, correction on that, not only just a female voice, but we were asked to get an Irish.
Yes.
Because we had the American one and they just didn't like that.
They didn't like it at all. Anyway, yeah, so we just decided we get Alan knows a lady who, as we say, who's sitting in the studio with us here at the moment. We asked her would she do the voiceovers. She jumped at the chance. She did it. Did it very well. Okay. And anyway.
You couldn't hold me back.
No, we couldn't hold it back. Or front or sideways, no. You know. But when we came time to play the jingles, I just said, we'll go to I didn't want to say the communications, or I just said we'll go to Mary, or I think that was the first name popped into my head.
That's what you did. You opened the phone book.
I opened the phone book in my head, and I just thought a good Irish name, and also my mammy's name. So
yeah. Well, there was a bit of a criteria, and the criteria was because we had to get away from the. Now, there's nothing wrong with the American accent, but people did say to us, "Well, you're an Irish station, so you should have an Irish female voice." So we needed an Irish female voice, but we needed a kind of neutral accent rather than a
strong Dublin
regional accent. Okay, so and of course I knew Mary, and I said would she like to do it, and she would kindly offer to do it.
And there was a huge queue for auditions.
Massive queue for auditions. There you go. But you were at the top of the queue, so there you are. Now, also, what we have to do is
the coffee's good.
And the coffee's good. Well, you got coffee when you came in and a biscuit, you see. So we always serve that to people coming in. Now, the other thing was that at the Steve being Steve and being quick off the top of the head, he needed to give this lady a name, and we didn't want to use her real name. So Mary was kind of the tag that she was given. So, but tonight we're going to reveal your real name.
Yeah, where's the drum roll?
That right, something.
The drum roll. Have we got a drum roll?
No.
I don't even know.
Don't know where it is. But so your real name is
Steph.
Steph, for short for Stephanie. Okay, right.
Short and
Okay.
sweet.
But you know what we have to do now? We have to change all the graphics
Oh,
and
dear.
everything that we've done
God.
from Mary over to Steph.
I like
Not
to see
at all.
I like to see a man working.
Yeah, I have enough to do, trust me. Right, so what we decide to do is there's a few things that we need to talk about and go through. So Steph can jump in as well. We can just kind of throw it around and banter it around. Just things that happen during the week, and, we can get each other's opinion on it. And then what we can do is, then we can talk about the annual review, go through all the guests and stuff after that. And again, throw that around as well. And there's people on the chat room already. Brilliant stuff. Great to see. Hope you had a good Christmas out there.
Agent's on.
Agent's
That's a
on,
good sign,
and he has the flowers ready already. Oh,
How old is Mary? How old is Mary, and is she married?
You never ask a woman those sort of questions. You should know better.
Please, Agent, please.
Right, okay, so let's start off with, the first thing was obviously the news that we found out, came on the news today about the Air Asia flight QZ8501 that went missing, and they're saying it was due to bad weather, and apparently hasn't been found. Now, obviously we're familiar with false flags. I'm not saying every time a plane goes missing that it's a false flag, but there was issues with the Malaysian flights, the 370, and there was another flight that was shot down.
So this was the third one.
This is the third one. Now, what we did hear from Alfred Weber, he was doing some research into this, and he said because the Malaysian government, I know this flew out from Indonesia, but because the Malaysian government were actually seeing Dick Cheney and George Bush and everything, they wanted them as war criminals. This was their two fingers up at Malaysia. Now, I'm not saying that happened in Indonesia. It could be something else, but you never know. So, just to kind of give it mention to say that, we did notice it, and if anybody else hears anything about the flight that's indifferent to what the actual newspapers are saying or what the media says, send us an email in and let us know about that. You guys have any comments on that at all?
No.
Well, no, I didn't hear about it, to be honest, until you said it to me there when I walked into the studio this evening, so I've literally Googled it. And it just says here on theguardian.com, Air Asia flight QZ8501, no distress call, no red flags, and no sign of wreckage. Yeah. So, it's another mystery.
155 passengers and 7 crew.
Now, the first thing I thought, I only heard about it now this afternoon, and the first thing I thought about was, this is the third one now.
That's gone down, yeah. You see, the powers that be work in different ways. I'm not saying that it's a false flag. It could be a genuine accident. We don't know yet. The jury hasn't come in on it. But, if anybody hears of it on the chat or any listeners while I listen to the show, let us know. If you hear anything, give us a shout and we can talk about it next week. The other one is on the list is Joan Burton this week called all of us fascists. Now, if that's not the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is. For her to turn around and actually call all the protesters and all of us because we were protesting. We were all in on the same day, December the 10th. You were there, Steve was there.
Yeah.
All
ages were there.
All ages. We had our kids with us and everything,
From babies and farms to old age pensioners.
It's unbelievable. Well, that is definitely the pot calling the kettle black, But, Steve, you're going to tell us about the tip, which I think is something that has to be mentioned as well.
I'm going to tell you about something anyway. This is the EU intends to sign two far-reaching trade agreements, one with Canada, that's the CETA, Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, and one with the USA, TIP, that's a Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. The official line is that this will create jobs and increase economic growth. However, the beneficiaries of these agreements are not, in fact, citizens, but big corporations. Well, that means nothing new there. We've kind of known that for a long time, that whenever there's anything going on, it's never, whoever's going to benefit, it's never going to be the normal Joe or the regular Joe or Josephine, whatever. It's always going to be corporations, because I think we found out by now, or we all know by now, that corporations run the world, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to continue.
Well, that's what a fascist state is, when the corporations actually tell the government what to do, so...
So we are a fascist state. Joan is right. She knows us so well.
Yeah, but she's calling us fascists, and she's part of the government. Anyway, the other thing on the list is we had a little chat with a radio station in Ireland called altirelandradio.com. And basically, they've agreed to actually re-broadcast their podcasts, which is going to be brilliant. They also have their own shows, so if you pop over to altirelandradio.com and have a listen to their shows, and they have guests on and everything else like that. But they're going to be rebroadcasting our podcasts, which is really nice of them.
Excellent.
Thanks for doing that. And if there's any news on their side, we'll be happy to promote, because we always say on the show about promoting, you know, self-promoting, but also promoting other radio stations as well, because we're all in it together. We're all in it to get the information out there, and, you know, the egos can be left at the door, and it's all about promotion, getting the information out there, and more than happy to do that. So thanks to the guys at altirelandradio.com for doing the rebroadcast on the podcast.
Yeah, you're right though. We are all in it together. I mean, that's what the government fails to realise, that whatever they do, it affects us. It affects the man on the ground. But I just say we are all in this together. So I mean, it will affect them. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually it will affect the government or their loved ones or friends or family.
Yeah. Well, Steph, you were there the night of the Land League meeting, the launch party, and you know I got up and did the talk to the audience because nobody mentioned the radio stations whatsoever.
No. I think everybody's more concentrating now on Facebook. That was mentioned quite a bit, but of course now people are realising that Facebook is just taking posts off, and people notice this, and so people are now losing confidence in Facebook. So they will be looking for alternative. Yeah, media.
Well, more and more people are going over to Unseen.is, which is, we have a website over there in Iceland, and it's Facebook, but it doesn't have all the restrictions and all the controls on it. So we've set up an account on that.
Yeah, but I think I think people need to know more about that. I don't think people really do.
Yeah.
Facebook is still the number one at the moment, but.
Well, we promoted it last week. We mentioned it last week, and more people are beginning to promote it and go over there. And it's going to take time because everybody's so used to Facebook. But I think there's new rules or regulations coming in with Facebook on the 1st of January, and there's more restrictions and more control over privacy, and they want more information from you. It's going around anyway. There's a promotion about it. So I think there's going to be a time where everybody's just going to have to leave Facebook and maybe go somewhere else, you know. Steve.
Yes.
He's still there.
I'm still here. Yes. What's next on the unscripted script? Again, this is something I only heard because it's Christmas. As I sent Alan an email the other day, and I won't repeat what I said in the email because it was kind of rude, but it wasn't being rude to Alan. I was saying the world can go on itself until after Friday, because I just wanted to get over Christmas. I wanted to enjoy Christmas Day and possibly Boxing Day, Stephen's Day, whatever you want to call it, without going near Facebook, without seeing what's happening in the news. I just wanted to have kind of an introverted Christmas with the family, you know, just us in a little cocoon, and I didn't want to know what was going on outside. So that has kind of rung true until today as well. I haven't actually watched any news bulletins. I haven't really been on Facebook. It's just kind of been vegging out on the sofa, watching some Christmas films with the kids, and, you know, dancing around, rocking around the Christmas tree, as they say. But so I actually didn't hear this until my wife, before I left the house this evening, she was on the phone to her mother-in-law. You know what I'm saying. It's the wine talking. But so she was talking about the Hobbit, as Alan has him written in here. That's what's his name?
Michael
D. Higgins. Yes, the Minister for small people.
Yeah.
The Minister for Midgets.
He's the President of Inner Earth.
Yes, he is. But apparently our President, the Hobbit, and now a traitor to the Irish people, has signed the Water Services Bill 2014. We did hear during the week that, what's his face, your man with the beard, Sinn Féin, Jerry Adams, that's the one, he had sent in a letter to Mr. President, and it was signed by him and a lot of other TDs and people, you know, and they were kind of asking Mr. Higgins, Michael D, not to sign this bill because it was against the will of the Irish people. Well, I think, look, as soon as we heard this, we knew he was gonna sign it. It didn't take a genius to figure out he wasn't gonna do it. I mean, if he didn't, I think, you know, eyebrows would have been raised, questions would have been asked, but even he is under the control of the governments and the big corporations and the Dennis O'Briens.
That's what he's done, though. What he's done is he's actually done the people a favour, because he's making it more obvious now that they're just not listening.
Yeah, and they're not listening at all.
Not at all.
They're not listening. How's your week, Steve?
Yeah. I just told you how my week was. It's been fine. I was just kind of, as I say, vegging out with the family, and I kind of built a little virtual cocoon around myself and kind of stayed away from Facebook pretty much. And that's it. The only thing I kind of noticed there this morning when I was up and about was that there was a lot of chemtrails going on.
There was an awful lot of
couldn't believe
chemtrails today.
I figured, you know what, Christmas time, because they're not even just give us a break. No, they were out spraying there today. And
I couldn't believe it. It's like they were working overtime today.
It was, yeah. I mean, there was so many. I think they were with the spraying that was going on today, they were certainly making up for the past couple of days. Yeah,
no, definitely. I totally agree. There was so much today. The sky was just full of them. And it's been going on all day. I was watching it all day. Just every time I looked out, there was a chemtrail there, you know?
Yeah.
So, and we're going to be talking about that later on.
Yeah, well, what else happened? Just very quickly, I know the chap won't be listening, so I can say it. Put my teeth back in. There's a family member / friend of the family, and his wife has been diagnosed. I thought it was Alzheimer's, but I only found out recently it was actually senile dementia. So I didn't know how open the family were, so I actually just sent an email to the chap there last night, a very, very kind of softly, gently email, just giving him some information about Mary Newport, Dr. Mary Newport, who we actually had on the show as well, and her treatment with the coconut oil. She speaks about the ketones and how beneficial they are to have in your diet. So I sent them off the links and the information, and I was quite surprised when I got an email back from there this morning. And he said he had heard about this, and he had been he was actually going down that road already, and had been giving his wife the coconut oil with the beneficial ketones in it. So we're holding our breath now to see what will happen. I mean, the information is out there, the evidence is out there to say that it does work. It won't work for everybody. And unfortunately, I actually read an update on Mary Newport's website yesterday that her husband had been coming on. He'd been doing quite well until very recently, where he had a fall in his home, and he did kind of suffer a bang to the head, and it has set him back. But she's continuing the treatment anyway, because even she's saying that from his initial diagnosis to today, he has come on leaps and bounds. So it definitely does work, and it's definitely worth trying. Even if you don't suffer from Alzheimer's or from dementia, it's recommended that you do have some of these ketones in your diet, and they are available through loads of different forms, but the highest concentration is in coconut oil, or well, actually any part of the coconut except for the coconut, the little bit of water or milk that's in the coconut. So yeah, coconut, put that on your list for things to increase consumption of in 2015.
Well,
there we go.
I remember, Alan, you said that to me about a couple of months ago about coconut oil. So I actually tried it in a stir fry, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Adds a lovely flavour.
Yeah, and the benefits of it as well. And also, I've been looking at stuff during the week, and I'm thinking of experimenting with it. Is actually replacing the normal, with toothpaste in general with the coconut oil, because apparently it's very, very good for your teeth and everything else.
Well, you don't brush with it now.
No, you put it in your mouth and you rinse with it.
You put it in, leave it there, you kind of sit down
warm up,
for 20 minutes. You have to hold it in your mouth for 20 minutes and do that every night. But it's supposed to be brilliant.
That's going to be very hard to do.
You couldn't keep your mouth shut for 20 minutes.
It's like having a Roundtree's food pastel in your mouth and try and keep it in your mouth without chewing it. Okay, so that's your week, is it?
Yes, how was your week?
Okay, as usual, just a few things on the list. Doing a bit of research and doing a bit of looking around, but just going back to Joan Bruton again, she actually thinks, this is how delusional the woman is, she actually thinks that the election in 2016, that she thinks the voters will be fair on Labour. How delusional are these people?
My God.
Please! I don't know. I mean, she's just so delusional. That's unbelievable.
Well, I was down in a waiting room there last week, and normally the older generation tend to follow one of the main parties. They're always, they'd support them into the grave. But I was so surprised. Every single person in the waiting room was saying there's no way they're going to vote them back in.
That's great.
One person. Yeah, it was brilliant to hear.
That's brilliant to hear that if they're all doing it, none of these kind of staunch, party people. If they're all saying it, that's a step in the right direction. The other thing that I came across, funny enough today, and obviously this is from the government, coming from the government, is calls. It was on a journal.ie, I think, website, and it says calls for new child grooming law to ban online vigilante paedophile hunters. Now, if there's guys online or people online who are trying to trap paedophile hunters, that are trying to trap paedophiles, right? in whose interest would it be to bring a law out to stop them from doing that?
Pedophiles?
Bang on. And who'd have the power to bring out that law?
Pedophiles?
Maybe in the government. I'm not saying there is.
Pedophiles in disguise.
Yeah, I'm not saying there is any pedophiles, because our government is, I'm really
squeaky clean.
Nice, squeaky clean, bunch of nice guys. It's all them UK politicians are a bit dodgy, maybe, But apparently there's been calls to stop that from happening. Very curious why they would bring that law in,
Somebody's worried about it.
Yeah, you think they'd want to stop that. And the other thing that, just a couple of things. We were talking about the whole martial law thing. Remember, Steve, on the couple of shows we talked about martial law. Why the police, not just in Ireland but across the board, are all getting more violent, and there's more violence to the people and da-di-da-di-da-di-da. And I know people have their kind of opinion on this regarding Nibiru or Planet X and all that kind of stuff, right? But there is a chap on YouTube, End Times 23, and his presentation of the information, the video stuff is not the best, but the content is quite good. And he did say here that the timeline for Nibiru is approaching Earth, and they reckon it's going to be August, September 2015. And this info was passed on to him from a guy who's an ex-Area 51 scientist, an ex-second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. This same source passed onto him Majestic 12 documents, as well as documents, proof that this ex-scientist was indeed a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. Now, people have different opinions regarding Planet X and all that kind of stuff, but I have been, over the last couple of weeks, doing a kind of looking into who is saying it. Is it a guy with a tinfoil hat, or is it people with reputations? People like Harrington, who is a well-known scientist, and he got very quick cancer and died very quickly, who was exposing what was going on. Sitchin, who knew about this and all the research that he's doing, Zachariah Sitchin, and a few others, and a few other experts and scientists who've been killed or had accidents. And that guy, your man, I think his name was Hastings, who was a reporter who was known to actually reveal stuff, and his car instantly blew up, drove off the road, and he was in it and blew up. So all these people, over the last few years, there's been a lot of scientists being killed. There's too many to say that it's all accidents, right? Now, as I say, people, it's kind of a bit like Marmite. You either believe it or you don't. But I've just been looking at the whole thing, and we know about the 4 blood red moons. We had 2 last year. We've 2 this year coming. The last blood red moon is on September, funny enough. And a lot of people from backgrounds are saying September. Now, we know about dates, not to give out dates, because dates have come and gone, and we've talked about dates before, and you take it with a pinch of salt. But I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I'd rather stock up on some food anyway. And if nothing happens, then you just use the food as normal. But if something does happen, then you're prepared, or you have something. Now, some people might go, oh, it's fear porn, and it's, no, it's not. It's information. You decide what way you want to take it. But do the research. Have a look yourself. Marshall Masters seems to have his finger on the pulse regarding this, and he really goes into the science of the whole Nibiru, Planet X. He goes right back to the start, to the kind of Egyptology and the Sumeria and every Babylon and the whole lot. He goes through the whole lot and goes through the history of it. So, I think people should look at that and just kind of, keep an eye out for that. As I say, nothing mightn't happen, but we are seeing major air changes across the globe. We're seeing things that are going on that have never gone on before in recorded history. We're seeing floods going on. We're seeing temperatures. We're seeing Hawaii has snow. Apparently found out during the week there was pictures of Hawaii with snow.
Wow.
And they're going, what's this white stuff, Mm-hmm. And all the sinkholes that are happening, there's volcanoes that are erupting that never haven't erupted like in hundreds and hundreds of years. So there's definitely something going on, right? There's definitely weather patterns and weather conditions. There's definitely something going on. As to whether it's Nibiru or whether it's changes going on, I don't know. But there's enough people out there saying something is going on. So I don't know. What your guys think? What do you think, based on what you know?
Well, I mean, from what you've said, I mean, the weather patterns, that goes without saying. I mean, we have noticed, even this year, as an example, we got some information there a couple of weeks back from Piers who? I keep getting his name wrong.
Piers Corbin.
Corbin, that's the chap. We got some information from him about weather patterns and how bad it was supposed to be for Christmas. He was saying that December over here was meant to be, very, very snowy, and more snow than the worst weather and sub-zero temperatures that we've seen in years. And so far he's been wrong. With the only bad weather we've seen really was, I believe, was it yesterday morning or? Yeah, I think it was yesterday morning. I seen some snow, a little bit of snowfall, or was the morning before? I don't know. Thanks to copious amounts of alcohol, the days are just kind of blending together. But yeah, we did see some snow the other day, and it's really only the past day or two where it's been cold with ice on the ground. Up to that, it's been a very, very mild December. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't mind seeing snow and ice in December. I mean, I think we should be getting snow and ice, especially in December and January. I'm more concerned about when you see it in April and May. Yeah. That's a real shift in seasons.
Well, the thing is, one of the things that I posted up on the Facebook page was that when you get the French ambassador and John Kerry, who's the US Secretary of State, coming in front of the press and saying to people that we are 500 days away from avoiding climate chaos. I mean, that was in May 2014. So 500 days leads to, guess when? September 2015. Now, this is not tinfoil hat stuff. This is the French ambassador, and this is John Kerry, who is the US, he's the Secretary of State for the US, coming in front of the press and saying we are 500 days, we have 500 days to avoid climate chaos, right? Now, the other thing that's happened during the week, and another one that people know this, that there's a hell of a lot of bank employees have been issued with survival kits, right?
Really?
Yeah. Now, you ask yourself, why are these banks, like JP Morgan and all these banks, all the employees have been issued with survival kits? Why?
So they do actually care about their employees?
Well, they obviously do, yeah.
Yeah, what's in the survival kits, though?
Well, it's their actual survival kits.
Is it cyanide pills, like,
Well, no, they're actual survival kits with blankets and stuff like that, and food and, all that kind of stuff. And it's all been in the papers. They've all been given survival kits. Why? Why would a bank give their staff survival kits?
Well, there's a few things to be worried about there.
I know it's Christmas, but I mean, you give them like a bottle of wine or something.
No, that's what it is.
Here's a survival kit. What's this for? Oh well, you never know.
Just in case
you go on a bad boys' night out and something.
We're not bothering with the Christmas bonus this year. Here you go. There's a survival kit.
Yeah, okay. So, because you won't be able to spend it, yeah.
I mean, I just want to throw back to that real quick. Marshall Masters, according to Jimmy on the People's Internet Radio Chat, he said he's a government shill who sells the fake Colburn Bible. And he also goes on to say that the scientist who allegedly found evidence of Nibiru Planet X died in a car accident and not cancer.
Right, okay. Was that...
He's dead anyway.
Is that Harrington? Are we talking about Harrington? Because... we'll have to check that. But again, you have to cross-reference. I'm not saying just watch 1 or 2 videos. I'm talking about watching about 10 or 15, 20 videos, which is what I've been doing, and just getting the general consensus on what people think. I'm not too interested in the Bible or the religious side, although wormwood is apparently mentioned in the Catholic Bible. But I'm more interested in the science of it all, rather than the kind of the prophecies of it, But, there are kind of, prophecies that have been made from indigenous tribes, the Hopis, the Maoris and all that, saying that something's going to happen and the shift is going to take place. If you take all that into account along with everything else, then you have to say to yourself, well, something's happening, something's definitely going on, but as to what, when and where, that's the other thing. You have to you're going to have to check it out yourself and see if it resonates with yourself. But when you get, as I say, the French ambassador and the Secretary for State coming out on TV and saying we're 500 days to avoid climate chaos, you have to say, well, why are they coming out and saying that?
Did they say what sort of climate chaos?
No
references, whatever?
No references whatsoever. They just said 500 days. I'll show you the video. But they were in front of the press. It's on, why would they come out in the media and say that? I don't know. And plus, why would all the bank employees get survival kits? What's that? What's that all about? See, this is why you have to start asking questions. Exactly. And the last thing on the list is Chris, who's a long-time listener to OYM, a good friend of OYM's, was on a training course with Paul. The remote viewer. What's Paul O'Connor? Yeah. And he just sent an email just saying that he wanted to take the opportunity to give some feedback on the basic CTV course hosted by Paul. And he's done 2.5 days of the 3-day course. And he said, after listening to Paul being interviewed on the show, I decided to take a leap of faith and give the course a go. Paul was very facilitating, organising a date and time that suited me. We decided on one-on-one sessions which were mind-blowing to say the least. Paul is a natural teacher and any fears I had of being crap were quickly erased. I am looking forward to completing my controlled remote viewing course, and if any listeners are considering giving it a go, I promise they won't be disappointed. That's great feedback, Chris. Thanks for giving us that. Very informative there.
So we're going to have to ask Chris then. Chris, can you look a little forward into the future and see what we're facing? You could be our eye in the sky, so to speak. Eye in the future. Yeah.
Well, the thing about the whole Nuremberg thing, we spoke to Alfred Weber. I call it, well, I don't know where I'm getting Albert from. Alfred Weber. And he said that the timeline has changed since December 12, 2012. But there's an argument against that because other people are saying that multiple timelines are all pointing to the same thing. So now we have Bob Fletcher on the show in 2 weeks' time. And Bob Fletcher is in his 70s, and they tried to kill him 3 times by revealing information. He knows about the Iran-Contra affair. He knows about the drug running from Vietnam. He knows about the Clintons and how dangerous they are and what they've done. So he's been involved in all that because he's an investigator. He's been involved in all of that. And he didn't want to touch the Planet X thing because he just said that he is a credible investigator, and the last thing he wanted is to go down the conspiracy theory with Planet X. But what he said, what happened was it kept coming back to him. So he threw himself into it and started doing the research to find out about it. And he's now, after all his time and investigation, he actually has a DVD out, but it's available on YouTube as well, and it's called Incoming. Bob Fletcher is his name. And I had a look at the DVD, and he basically goes and he talks about the whole kind of the Ozarks, the Jesse Ventura drive down the underground bases, the DUMBs, which is the deep underground bases that we know about. Phil Schneider talks about them. He worked on them as a geologist, I believe. And all these, there were 129 underground bases in America alone. And you can see them. I mean, you can see the 40-foot trucks. You see them driving in and out. And, they're very kind of open about this information and people knowing about the deep underground bases. And you have to ask yourself, why are they doing all this? Do they know something that we don't know? Are they getting prepared for something we don't know?
Yeah, so, from what we've heard, I mean, it doesn't matter. You can be as prepared as you like. You can go into your underground bases, but when whatever's going to happen happens, depending on who you listen to, it doesn't matter where you're going to be. We're all going to come under the same wrath anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what
you still have to come out, don't you?
Well, that's it.
And what do you come out to?
Well, this is it. So, at the end of the day, I don't see it as, negative or positive. I just see it as information because there's only so much that you can do anyway. So, that's just the way I see it. So it's interesting all the same looking at the information anyway, Right, okay. Well, so we just touch base on a couple of the guests that we've had on, and we'll hope to have these back on this year, have a few back on this year. And I'd like the listeners to also give us an email and let us know what guests that you enjoyed if you tuned in during the year and what guests you'd like to have back on. I know we had a request for Abby Martin by one guy. By me. I secretly emailed myself and didn't look when I was doing it.
You're always doing that, Alan.
Yeah, I get Abby back on. So we'll see what we can do. But so if there's any guests that you like and you want us to get them back on, we'll do our best to try and do that. Right, okay. So we started off the year with Kevin Flanagan, who's from Tyrannosaur, and I know we had a great chat with Kevin regarding the legal side and a few bits and pieces there. And then we had Simon, the White Rabbit. Again, great information. Ex-Queen's banker talking about bits and pieces there. I'm not going to dwell on certain, I'm going to kind of fly through them as much as I can, but we can have a chat about individual ones, because the certain ones that for me stood out. If any of these stand out for you, Steve?
Well, Kevin stood out for me because as we know, I know that there's some people who disagree with what Kevin stands for, what Kevin says, and the way Kevin does things. But that's okay. Like, we're all in the same boat. Some of us are just at different ends. But Kevin went off and he done his legal training. And he's a barrister, or solicitor. I can't remember, but I know Kevin.
A solicitor.
Solicitor, is it?
Solicitor,
yeah, okay. So Kevin went off to do his training as a solicitor, but Kevin is also, I'm not going to say man on the land, or what's the other
Freeman on the land.
Freeman on the land. But Kevin would know a lot of the information. He's on our side, and he went off because he wanted to learn what it's like on the other side, just to kind of see what we are actually up against if and when we do go to courts or present ourselves, in the courtrooms. And he done his training, he came back, he came out with that, qualified, and he came on the show. He gave us a great interview, and he gave us some good information, he gave us some bad information, but at the end of the day, it's all just information. It's how you interpret it and what you do with it, I suppose. But it was good. It was good to have him on. The fact that he had kind of been on the other side, had the T-shirt and done the training, and I think we did learn a lot from that.
I remember him saying that when he went in, when he started this course, and he went into the room and he sat down waiting for his first lecture, and the guy came out, and the first thing he said is, your loyalty is to the court and not to your client. Right?
Wow.
As a solicitor. And he said his jaw dropped on the ground when he heard that.
I don't think the paying customers would be too happy to hear that.
Well, that's
what are they paying for?
But that's it. See, it's a boys' club. The Law Society is a boys' club, and it's all a game. That's all it is. It's just a game. But that was a good interview. And then we had Simon White Rabbit, always a good guy to have on. He's an ex-banker, but he works for Coots, which is the Queen's Bank. And Simon is brilliant because he has some great videos up on YouTube of him ringing the Inland Revenue and ringing banks, and he's making faces while your man's chatting away, and he's very good, isn't he?
Oh, he's fantastic, because as Alan has said, he has a lot of YouTube videos where he'll actually ring a bank, a building society, a credit card company, or whatever, and because he knows the game from the inside, he knows the rules. So when he starts to kind of challenge these people, and they start giving him a load of BS back, or trying to kind of hoodwink him and maybe just get rid of him, get him off the line, he then uses the system against them, and he ties them up in knots. And I believe he's cleared a lot of credit card debts. He helps people, and he's just an all-around good guy. But then again, what he's doing, he probably will have a price on his head, because like everyone else who's trying to help people, they seem to disappear, or bad things seem to happen to them. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bounty on him. But check out his YouTube channel anyway. He's the White Rabbit. He's a lot of great information there. All it takes is a pair of cojones, and that's really all you need. You just need to be able to listen to the information, digest it, and then have the cojones to actually go and try it out yourself. You need the confidence, and as someone said before, the confidence doesn't come before you do something, it comes after. So unfortunately you will have to do it first, but as you get down the road and start fighting the system, that's when the confidence, you will get empowered with confidence. That's exactly what happened to me with the TV license thing. The first letter I sent back, I was crapping myself, because it was uncharted territory. But I sent the letter back, they sent the letter back, and I just keep sending letters back, and it gets easier, and the fear goes away. But anyway,
yeah, that's it. Get rid of the fear. That's what.
And the more people see these, the more they start to ask questions, the more they start to get the confidence. Yeah, right.
That's it. It's all about educating people and getting them to wake up. The next guest we had on was Dr. Graham Monroe. Now, Dr. Graham Monroe was a dentist along with his wife for 30 odd years. And he did send over a copy of his book, and I read it, and it was mind-blowing about how the dentists are doing what they're doing, and what he does to help people through health. They have health issues, and what he does, getting rid of mercury, not I was going to say implants, but fillings and all that kind of stuff, heavy metals and all that. And that was quite interesting. As I say, the book is very interesting as well. I don't know whether it'd be great to have a dentist like him over here in Ireland. I don't know whether there is one, but if there is, we'd be happy to promote him because we definitely need somebody like that. The next people we had on were Barry Trower and Ben Gilroy. Again, two great guests, great information. We know Barry, he's a regular on the show and an expert in the microwave stuff and the Wi-Fi stuff. And Ben, as usual, a bit of a character as well, having a bit of fun.
He's a great guy. I'll never forget the first time I see the YouTube video of him actually there, out in the front line, facing the sheriff and the guards, sticking up for people. And it's great to see people like him there on the ground. He's a great guy. And
again, the night you were there, both of us were there for the launch of the Land League, and Ben was there.
He's still doing it.
Yeah.
Even though he's gone further up the ladder, he's still there for people. He's still helping people.
Yeah, he's still in the High Court, and he's helping people.
Yeah,
and
he hasn't forgotten where.
And all the time, while as we know as well, his daughter is quite sick, he's still helping people.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And this is what it's all about. We talk about the Land League, and we have Finbar Markey on next week. We're going to do a full interview with Finbar, and it's launching the Land League for 2015, and asking people to get involved. And if you have a little bit of time, get involved with that. And we will talk about that down the line. But that's all, and that's what you did. But we'll talk to you, Steph, about it in a minute when we get down to talking about the Land League. Right, the next people we had was. We had Tony Miles and Sharon Gifford, and that was a kind of an interesting interview, although certain things happened after that, which I won't go into. And then the next guest was Andy Thomas, always a good guy to have on. Andy, great information. I think we'll get him on this year again. I'll ask him to come on because Andy is an author, writer, does loads of lectures, and always really nice guy, always a good guy to have on. The next guest, I was really happy to get the next guest on. And the next guest was, some of you might remember, was Paul Hellyer. And he was the ex-Minister for Defence in Canada. And Paul Hellyer, he's the highest ranking, I won't say witness, but the highest ranking person to come out and talk about ETs and the fact they're here. And he's the ex-Defence Minister for Canada to come out and actually say that. That's a big deal. And so it was brilliant to have him on the show to talk about that, and to be very open-minded about it. The next person we had on, I don't even have a picture here of this one.
Incognito, are they? Witness Protection Program?
Yeah, well, it was Tony Z and Alchemy, apparently. I think that was there was an event that time, and we got them on to actually talk about the event, and we had different guests coming in at that time, so that's all mixed. The next guest we had on was Dr. Terry Wallace. The Dr. Terry Wallace had MS, and she was getting really, really bad with MS, and she decided to come up with her own methods to understand MS and how it works, and she started using natural foods and juicing and all the stuff that we're told about by Bernadette Bowen and Dr. Lorraine Day about juicing and the benefits of our organic food and all that. And that's what Terry did. And she's a medical doctor, so she could actually understand the whole principles behind it. And she came on the show and told us all about it. So apparently you can fight MS. Now she's about 80 to 90%. At the time she was about 80 to 90% better. But she wasn't 100%, but she 80 to 90% than what she was when she was in a wheelchair. But she was up and running and cycling and all that kind of stuff. And that's incredible. Just purely by changing your diet and changing your lifestyle.
That goes back to, you think back to your parents' days, your grandparents' days, and everyone always used to say, oh, you are what you eat. And that is true. You put crap into your body and, crap will happen to you. You put the right stuff in and you're happy and healthy. Look, it's not a secret. You look up on the internet and you'll find loads of information about juicing. As Alan mentioned there, Bernadette Bowen cured herself, spontaneous remission from cancer twice, just based on changing her lifestyle, changing her diet. She didn't go down the conventional road with the chemotherapy. She just changed her lifestyle and was a big advocate for juicing. And she was on as well. She wasn't on this year. I know she wasn't on 2014, but she has been on previously. And she just kind of cured herself basically. And there's a lot of information around the internet about, certain foodstuffs that you eat that the body needs, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the likes of the coconut oil. There's ketones in the coconut oil that you do not get.
Donut? Yeah,
Donut, pass the donut. That you don't get from, a lot of foodstuff that we eat, but kind of coconut oil. Coconut, it's in there.
Well, why is anybody so surprised? I mean, we don't eat natural foods anymore. We're eating foods full of preservatives.
Yeah.
And
there's no proteins in the food. We're not getting any benefits from the food.
No,
and
it's all dried up, and all the vitamins and essentials are all gone out of the food. So,
and that's the whole idea. Well,
then if you stick it in the microwave, good luck.
Kill it again. Well, we know about the eugenics program. I mean, they do want to kill us. I mean, the whole Georgia Guidestones reducing the population. That's why we have chemtrails, poisons in our food, poisons in our water. That's just the way it is. And when people laugh and go, sure, they're probably trying to kill us, and you think, well, they are actually trying to kill us.
Yeah, they are.
No, well, I think what really woke me up to it was, I have a cousin, and she's in Canada, and she literally grows all the food that she eats herself, and she was telling me now that the government are coming down on them and telling them that they can't eat their own food because it hasn't been tested.
Yeah. I said this on OYM.
Isn't that just madness?
No, but I said this on OYM on a couple of shows, probably at the start of the year, that in America they're trying to bring a bill in to stop you from growing your own food, and the excuse will be that it's not being tested, that you might give it to somebody and you might poison them. Because they do not want people to be self-sufficient. No. They want everybody relying on the government. Yep. Now, do you remember the movie, Steve, that John Irwin sent us over called Soylent 7? Is it Soylent Green?
Soylent Green, yeah.
Soylent Green, and it's a 1970s movie. And basically, John said, that's exactly where they want us. So what happens is, you can volunteer to be for eugenics, right? You can volunteer for euthanasia and kill yourself. And they take the bodies and they turn it into food, and they give it back to the people, right? And now, the guy who was in it movie star Steve. I'm looking at you, thinking.
I wasn't in it. No, definitely wasn't me.
Who's the guy that did Moses?
Charlton Heston.
No. Charlton Heston.
No, was it?
Yeah, Charlton Heston. Okay. Yeah, Charlton Heston was in it, and it's called Soylent Green, and it was basically what they want to do with people in the future.
Isn't that where swine flu came from? Isn't that what? They were feeding ground up dead animals back to the animals, back into the animal food chain.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they were. So there you go. So that's Terry.
Actually, just want to mention real quick, just while you're talking about people grounding up bodies and feeding it back to people, I watched a film this year, or a movie, if you're listening in America, and it was recommended by Vin on People's Internet Radio, and I believe it's widely available. It's called Snowpiercer, and if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's one of those films that anyone that's on our side of the fence will understand and see where it's come from. So Snowpiercer, check it out.
Right, okay. Next guest we had on was in March. The 9th was JP from Wolf Spirit Radio. Good guest to have on. Great having radio hosts on because they do a lot of interviews, speak to a lot of people.
Yeah, he puts us to shame though, JP. He's so professional.
He's so professional. And he has that radio voice.
He does, yeah.
He does.
I bet he doesn't play the sax though.
No, he doesn't play the sax. No, he doesn't know how to play the sax. He plays guitar though.
Has got a note in his head.
He does play guitar actually. He's in the band. So the next guest was a Dr. George Carlo, which is brilliant to have on because he's an internationally recognised scientist, medical scientist, and we had him on talking about the dangers of Wi-Fi and all the dangers of mobile phones and all that, which is great. Then the next show we had JP on again with a lady called Melanie from ICAA or ICAACT, which is ISACT, Lars and Jesse, and she came on and told us about various things that were going on there. The next guest was Miles Johnston. Miles is always a good guest. I met up with Miles. Steve couldn't make it, unfortunately, thanks to Chris.
I couldn't make it thanks to Chris. No, there was a full stop in there.
Full stop in there. Chris organised a meeting between myself, Steve, Miles and himself, but unfortunately Steve couldn't make it. But we're hoping to do something this year in March, aren't we, Steve?
Yes. Okay. We're organising a big session.
Big session.
Oh,
big session.
Sounds good.
Down the country somewhere. So that's in hand. Chris knows about that. Okay, and the next lady we had after Miles was Solaris Blue Raven. Remember Solaris Blue Raven?
Sorry, I'm trying to type at the same time and I can't multitask. Yes, I do remember her. That's the lady over in the UK, wasn't it? That was US.
No. Synthetic telepathy. She was.
All right, sorry.
like MK Ultra mind controlled.
Okay, I'm thinking of the wrong woman. So
yeah, and that was the story in itself.
Seven. I'm thinking of 7.
Yeah, you think it's 7. Yeah, well that was the year before last.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how fast it's going. Yeah. So Solaris Blue Raven. Yeah. So she sent some information to the guys out of Pink Floyd. And all of a sudden, things started happening to her, and she was hearing voices in her head and all that. Good interview. She listened to it, and she had her full life ahead of her. She was doing martial arts, good relationship, everything else, and then this stuff started happening, and it just completely changed her life. Unbelievable. And she's still kind of picking up the pieces from there. Then we had in April we had Mark Pazio on, and again another great guest. Loved talking to Mark, very open-minded. Loved the psychology, loved the way. I mean, his background was that he was involved in a satanic cult, and so he understood. He grew up with that, and he understood all the satanic stuff and the symbolism and everything else. And it's great when you have people like that who've actually can live it and can turn around and go, "Well, I've seen it done. I have the T-shirt," rather than just kind of based on one thing is research, but another thing is being involved in doing it. It's something else. Then we had a David Hugo Boyle, and that was the interview that we did, Steve, where we videoed us doing the interview in the studio.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was interesting, yeah. Yeah. Although
especially when we look back at it and realise that we both just kind of sat there like two sticks.
Yeah.
Even though the camera was on, we should have been animated and jumping around.
Yeah. There's no animation. It was we just sat there, so it's kind of 2 hours of boring. Sitting, watching the video.
Yeah, so no one will ever see that.
Nobody will ever see that. It won't go up on YouTube.
See that.
No, you don't. We were just doing it as an experiment, just to see how it goes. So if you're going to do it, we'd have to animate ourselves, wouldn't we? Have to do something. The next guest we had, funny enough, after Dave Hugo Boyle was Paul O'Connor, which is the remote viewing. The Irish guy does remote viewing, and which is what we said earlier on with Chris going to the training course with Paul. And Chris recommended the training course. Now, we might get Paul on again maybe this year. Might be a good thing to do that.
I'd say we definitely will have Paul on again, because, I mean, from what Chris has said and from what we've heard, I mean, look, remote viewing, it's a skill we could all do. We just need to be trained. It can be very beneficial. And I remember when we actually spoke to Paul, and this is kind of strange because I don't know if we actually done this live on air or if it was after maybe we cleared up Paul. We stopped talking, whatever, or we played the jingle, or we at the end of the show, whatever it was. But as it turned out, Paul actually used to live around the corner from me in a house around the corner. He lived there for about a year, so he was actually a neighbour of mine. That's my claim to fame. Paul O'Connor, yeah, he's a neighbour of mine.
Yeah, remote viewing. Was he remote viewing at the time?
I don't know. Looking at me in me lederhosen.
In your onesie.
Oh,
don't bring up the
onesie. Don't even go there.
I had to change out my onesie before.
Speaking of onesies, and Steph will confirm this. Alan actually has a onesie.
I do.
I've seen him in the onesie.
Yeah, and I have told him that if I'm coming up, he has to forewarn me, because I ain't coming in the door until he gets it off.
I had to take my onesie off.
It's not sexy.
No, it keeps you warm. I tell you, I can understand why babies use a kind of all for one,
Yeah, but that's it though. It's baby,
I know, yeah, but they're warm. I know, it doesn't look good, but they are warm. I have to say that, especially when you can't afford the oil, or the heating, can't put the heating on. They keep you warm. They do. These baby grows, they're pretty good. Pretty good.
Who recommended that baby grow? Was it your mistress, or not your mistress? What do you call these people where you go to? The women who you go to and they treat you like a baby and they hit you with a stick.
No, I don't go to
his
them.
Nanny?
His nanny.
She still does it.
Yeah, no, I don't go. I don't pay for that kind of service at all. Right, the next guest we had on. Don't know how we got from onesies to from Paul O'Connor and his remote viewing.
Yeah.
Next guest we had on was Ollie Dormigard. And Ollie was, he had to leave his native country because they tried to kill him. Or there was an attempt on his life for something similar to that, and he moved over to Spain. The next guest we had then was Dr.
Sorry, what was he? He was talking about the dangers of the Wi-Fi, wasn't he?
Ollie?
Yeah.
No, just the whole kind of New World Order stuff.
Jesus, will I get that right tonight, will I? Are you sure he wasn't talking about... There was someone on called Ole, and I'm pretty sure he was talking about the dangers of wireless technology.
Well, he's aware of the dangers. He's aware. He knows about all that stuff, along with the New World Order stuff as well.
Oh, okay.
So he's familiar with it. The other one, the next guest was Dr. Raymond LeBeau. Brilliant guest to have on. Medical doctor, 44 years, very well experienced, very open-minded, knows about the dangers of vaccines and all that kind of stuff. And great information, you know. I've talked to Dr. Rima on numerous occasions, not just obviously we've interviewed her, but just on Skype on one-to-one, talking about bits and pieces, and very interesting.
Yeah, the only thing that concerned me about the interview with Dr. Rima LeBeau was the fact that she was recommending a treatment for, you know, when you have all the chemtrails, and seemingly nano silver can combat chemtrails and various other diseases. She was kind of really on the soapbox about nano silver. As it turned out, her company actually manufactured and sold nano silver, but we've kind of found out that some people, it could be just coincidence, but some people are having great difficulties in actually getting the product. They've paid for the product, but it just never seems to arrive, and like not days or weeks are passing by, but months are passing by. So we're not 100% sure exactly. Maybe it's just a postal service because it is coming from Chile, so maybe it's something to do with that. But we have also heard recently that colloidal silver is supposed to be more beneficial than the nano silver, because from what we've heard, there is nanoparticles in chemtrails, and if you're already ingesting nanoparticles, so nano silver, they're saying is just another nanoparticle. Nano. Yeah, so they're kind of saying that colloidal silver is better. Now, again, it depends on who you talk to. I know if you said that to Dr. LeBeau, she would jump through you for a shortcut. She was really kind of adamant that nano silver was the way to go. So at the end of the day, as Alan said, you get the information and you look at it all different angles. You research the bejesus out of it, and then you find whatever resonates with you.
Well, can I just say on her defence that my brother-in-law did order it, and there was a delay with his order, so they shipped another order, and then his original order came in, and when the second order came in, they just told him to keep it.
Buy one, get one free.
Buy one, get one free. So, you know, it did eventually come in. There was a bit of a delay. Obviously, the World Health Organization doesn't want people getting this because they want everybody to have a vaccine against Ebola. That's the plan. So when Dr. Rima was shipping the nanosilver over to Sierra Leone, the World Health Organization, who you think would be interested in helping the people, were stopping the shipments going in. All right, so that's how bad it was, because they want everybody to have the vaccine against Ebola. But what's happening in Sierra Leone was that the people who were getting Ebola were the only ones that had the vaccine. Anybody who didn't have the vaccine weren't getting Ebola.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that.
Very strange that, isn't it?
How do you explain that one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was interesting. Next guest in May was Gordon James Gananotto. Again, great guy. I like Gordon. He's trained as an astrophysicist, one of the top of his class. Very, very talented guy. Very knowledgeable about what's going on, and loads of experiences and on the science side and Planet X and Urabit, the whole lot. You know, really, really good guy. I like talking to Gordon. And
he is the chap, isn't he, whose eyesight was failing and.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've told a few people about that. Gordon has been taking his doctor recommended aspirin, one a day, to keep the old blood thin, right? But what he didn't realise was that it actually affects the cornea of your eye, or the back of your eye. Yeah. And now he's losing his eyesight because of it.
Oh, right. I haven't heard that one now.
Yeah.
Either.
And even though he stopped taking the aspirin, there's nothing. It's
irreversible. Yeah, it's irreversible. So, and he can't. He's looking at the screen. He can't. You know, his eyesight's basically going. That's it. And he said, if he hadn't known that, there's no way he would have took the aspirin. So just something to bear in mind, people, that if your doctor does turn around to you and say, oh yeah, your blood needs a bit of you need to take an aspirin to thin your blood out, just keep in mind about, you know, what happened, Gordon, and do your research and check it out.
There's loads of people taking aspirin.
Well,
anybody who has heart issues is taking aspirin.
Yeah, well, there you go. Natural foods. Again, you have to go back to natural foods.
I think garlic, isn't it? Garlic supposed to be natural blood thinner.
There's a number of foods that you can use, but Steve, you tell us about statins. You know about that.
The island. The statins. Yeah, I was on those for cholesterol, And again, this is going back a while too, and I had a chat, and the doctor that prescribed them for me said, sure, in about 10 years' time, everyone's going to be on statins. He was kind of proud when he was writing the prescription. It was like, he was the happiest man on earth. Of course, I had a reaction to the statins, the particular one that I took. I got pains and aches in a lot of muscles, and I couldn't hold a pen. I couldn't write. My handwriting looked like that of a 2-year-old. And I went back to the doctor, and he just said, that's just one of the side effects. But then, when you look into it, you realise it's not a side effect; it's an effect. So we actually had a couple of different doctors on. This is back to probably 2012, 2013, most likely 2012. It would have been 2012 actually. Yeah, sorry. And we had a lot of doctors on, American doctors, and we spoke with them about the statins and cholesterol, and they basically said, every year you'll probably find that the level for high cholesterol, it'll be reduced every year. So within a 10-year period, everybody, no matter, whether you're healthy, whether you're fat, skinny, whatever, everyone will be brought into under the umbrella of high cholesterol. So everybody will be on statins. But it was recommended, after we finished talking to the doctor, I put it to him, I said, look, I know you're not going to give me medical advice, but if you were me, would you continue with the statins, or what would you do? He said, if I was in your position taking the statins and I had all those effects, he said, I would stop taking them immediately. And I said, well, what would you do? Would you go and look for another statin? He said, no, I wouldn't touch them. And what really, really rang through to me, he said, you're getting aches and pains in your muscles. And I says, I can't write and I can't hold a pen properly. He says, what's your heart? And I said, well, it's your heart. He said, yeah, it's a muscle. And I went, Jesus, yeah. So armed with that, I stopped taking them, and I started taking another product out of a health food shop called spirulina. And again, I went back to the GP about maybe 6 months later, taking the spirulina, and he said, while you're here, we'll just do a quick blood test the old cholesterol levels. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. So he did. Got a phone call a couple of weeks later, go back in, make an appointment to go back in and see him, which I did. He then came in, he didn't come in, I came in. And he said to me, your cholesterol, it's down. We'd like to get it down a little bit, but from the last blood test now, it has come down considerably. So what tablets are you're taking? And he named a particular brand. And I said, no. And he says, what do you mean no? I said, no, I stopped taking them about 12 months ago. And he kind of looked at me confused, sad and confused, and he says, well, you must be doing something else. I says, yeah, I'm taking spirulina, and that's, because it comes out of the health food shop. He looked at me and, oh, right, well, it seems to be working for you. Just keep on taking it, so.
That's right.
But
yeah.
Do you know, Alan, I think, the way you're always talking about the acid and alkaline.
Yeah.
Well, one of the main causes of muscle aches is a lactic acid that's actually created by the body. So maybe you just had too much acid in your
That's
body.
quite possible, yeah.
Could be, because we are watching our kind of diet as much as we can regarding the acid and, pH balance and
maybe
all that.
Maybe it all comes back to acidity.
Well, to be honest with you, that's the body science. So if you have too much acid in your body, then you're going to be more open to viruses and cancers and infections and all that. If your body has to be more alkaline, and again, it's what you put in, as Steve said earlier on. Your body is your temple, what you put in. Yeah. And a lot of the foods that we eat, it's in. We have to look at our foods, have our veg. I'm not kind of saying, go mad. I mean, there's a certain element. You can still have your pizza and all that kind of stuff, but you have to balance. Everything's a balance.
Yeah.
That's why you have a pH balance. I was speaking to my mother during the week, actually, about Kangen water and the demo we did with Rhoda, which is on YouTube. So if people want to find out about Kangen water, go over to our YouTube page, a YouTube website, and you'll see a video that I've done with Kangen water and the difference between the acid and the alkaline and Kangen water.
Can you spell that for people who just want to maybe look it up?
Yeah, Kangen.
Thank you.
Kangen. But if you go to youtube.com/OYM Internet Radio, that's our YouTube page, and the video's on there where I've actually done a demo with Rhoda, who's a friend of mine. regarding Kangen water, and we show you the different colours, the difference between acid and alkaline. And when you have an alkaline Kangen water and you pour 7-Up into it, and it automatically goes to acid, because all the pop drinks, all the Cokes and everything else, they're all acid. You know, so we've done a demo with that as well.
Some good information there from People's Internet Radio from Gillian and also Jimmy. Jimmy says apple cider vinegar is good to reduce acidity in the body, and Gillian says ginger in your tea will balance the pH. So there's some good information.
Ginger is great.
Yeah, and I've heard about apple cider vinegar being quite good for a lot of things. So
And ginger, because the physiotherapist told me that ginger is good for muscle aches as well.
Brilliant.
So there you go.
Yeah.
It obviously does combat the lactic acid as well.
Grand. So just have some ginger nut biscuits, so.
no, that doesn't work. But it goes to show you, you know, the trouble is that a lot of this food is great, but when it comes down to, do you have the money to buy it? No. You have to kind of afford what you can buy, what you can afford. So it's a balance, isn't it? It really is down to a balance.
But yeah, and even that Kangen water that you speak of, unfortunately, when people look into it, it looks great, but when you start,
very expensive.
Oh, it's very expensive. You look at the price, and you kind of go, it's out of a lot of people's price range. You want to be saving your pennies.
But this is where like cooperatives can get together.
Yeah.
And buy one and purchase one themselves, and then everybody can go.
That's it. Yeah. Well, that's what. Well, here's the thing: the Kangen water machine hooks up to your normal water supply, right? Now, with water meters and everything else, if people are going in like neighbours and saying, "Oh, can you fill up my thing?"
But are the water meters going to come in?
Well, well, I'm just saying, I'm being devil's advocate here, but you might get somebody who's, I'm going to pay my water meters, but they get a Kangen machine in, and then they start giving out, going, well, I can't give you any more because I'm going to be charged for that. That's what you're going to be faced with. Right, okay, after Gordon, we had Harry from We the People, always a good chap to have on, great information from Harry. Next.
Sorry, before anyone who's wants to check out Harry's stuff, wethepeople.ie, Harry has a lot of great information there in relation to the likes of, say, e-flow notices and how you can cancel those and exactly what they are, how they work, and there's just a mind full of information is Harry. But like if you do have e-flow notices or things that come through your door that you don't want, be they TV licenses, notices, or any kind of notices, then basically just check out Harry's website. Especially if you're in Ireland, because it's from an Irish perspective. So just check that out, and you get kind of the information as it's. He's kind of tried and tested, done it, has the T-shirt, that kind of scenario. So you check that out as well.
Excellent. The next person after Harry was Piers Corbin. Weather Action.
The weatherman.
It's amazing. That was in June, right? The 1st of June that we had Piers on. And I'm just amazed at the speed. That just feels like a few weeks ago.
It does.
Yeah, it was in June.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at, the speed that, how time is flying by, or consciousness is flying by. Depends on what way your perception is and what way you see it. The next people we had on was Dr. Dean Lloyd and Am Rosen. And we really got into kind of medical stuff and psychology and philosophy and stuff with Am and Dean, which is quite interesting. They have a show on United We Strike on the marathon every month. So if you want to hear more of them, that's where you'll actually hear them. Then we got Mark Pazio on again in the 15th of June. And again, we talked about loads of stuff with Mark. Psychology and the whole kind of the way people think and, New World Order and all that kind of stuff. And then the next guest is John Anthony Hill, Mudeeb, as he likes being called. And we'd call him about spiritual awareness and what happened to him and the way he sees things at the moment. So
yeah, John Anthony Hill, or Mudeeb, he's the chap that's behind the 7/7 the video.
Yeah.
Not the bombing, but the video. He was the one who basically looked at the information for what it was. He put it all together. He sent it to a judge. Was it a judge in the UK?
That's right.
It was, yeah. Because he felt it was information that they may not have otherwise seen. So he put it together. He compiled it in an easy to watch and digest video. And based on doing that, he ended up under house arrest over here. So yeah. So sometimes when you have some information you know, but you might think it's great to you should give it to people, but sometimes it doesn't kind of work out as you expect it to.
But he was jailed for over 100 days in the UK, you know, and he was under house arrest over there as well. So you know, not really nice for. I mean, there is a law that says if you know information, you have to give it in.
Yeah.
And that is your duty.
It's your duty.
I don't know what the actual the wording of the law is, but that's what he did, and obviously that's what he got for his troubles. So he was extradited over to the UK. I mean, a bit silly, really.
I think he's actually when he was on, he told us he has done an update on that 7/7 video.
Yeah, the 7/7. I think there's a part 2 now. There's another version on it.
Yeah.
And
anyone looking for that, you can just check. I think it's 7/7 Ripple Effect was the name of it.
That's it. And I've met Mudeeb a couple of times for a coffee because he doesn't live far from where we are. And, you know, good information, good chat. His belief system's different to mine. But, you know, that's what I said to him. You know, that's the way I see it. And that's, you know, that's just agreed between the two of us. But a good chat all the same, good information. And then the next was in June was Jim Mars. Always a good guy to have on. Good guy, Jim. He's been involved in this for a long time, knows an awful lot, done a lot of investigations, and always a good chap to have on. And again, we might get him back on again this year. We'll just see what happens and see if he's up for it. Then we had David Hugo Boyle on again, catching up on some information that David was talking about. And then we had James Gilliland on. Now James, again, I really like James, very down to earth guy, loads of experience on the spiritual side, all the meditation side. He had a near death experience as a surfer, and down to earth. And he calls a spade, and basically he says that you know, you have to understand the negative as well as the positive. You can't just be one of these people that go, oh, that's negative, I want to stay away from that. I mean, you can't be like that. You actually have to deal with both. You have to know your enemy to fight your enemy, really. And that's what he was saying. And there's too many airy-fairy people going around saying, oh, that's a negative, I'm not going to go down there. And you're kind of letting people, you know, away with things by doing that. So you have to know who you're dealing with. So, but that's James Gilliland, which is a good guy. Then we had John on again. I don't know if we had John on again anyway. Then we had Ben on. So we had another chat with Ben, a full show with Ben, which is interesting. As usual. And then we had Michael O'Bernicia. Now we had Michael on 2 weeks in a row because Michael had some great information. He was attacking the banks and dealing with the banks, and he came up with 3 things relating to the banks and what to say, because he was saying from the time you sign your mortgage in the solicitor's office, when you're called in to sign the paperwork, that's where the fraud is committed. And he was proving that because he was taking the case to court with his father or his family. Again, a good interview. If you want to listen to what he has to say, he goes through it all there. Then we had James Gilliland on again, just to go through more stuff with him, which is brilliant. Again, always good information. And, you know, I'd urge people to go to YouTube and type in James Gilliland, ESETI Ranch, because there's a lot of people out there who still don't believe in the ET side of things. And he's had experts go there to debunk him, and they're walking away with the jaws open, the mouth open. They couldn't believe that, you know, they're seeing these crafts power up over his ranch. And they just say, well, that's not our equipment, that's not ours, you know?
Yeah, and I think he has the much sought after, I don't know, is it level 3 or grade 3 night vision binoculars. I think he has that technology down there on the ranch, and when people go down, obviously they can use it, and they do see a lot of light shows. He did kind of tell us that there was a lot of spectacular stuff. I think as Alan said, check out his videos as well. He does have a lot of his findings videotaped. So videotaped. Video.
Video.
You know what I'm saying. But he's a good guy, very very interesting, and if you have the time and have a few quid, you can go down to his ranch. You can fly down. He may he'll open his arms and open his ranch and make you more than welcome.
Yeah, all by private invite, obviously. Now, they tried to kill him and they cut his brakes and all that kind of stuff because they wanted to shut him up as usual. That's what happens when people want to expose stuff. So, but a very interesting guy. Now, Joan wants to know, can we spell Michael's last name? Michael O'Bernicia, which is Bernicia. That's O, Bernicia, Bernicia is his name.
I think there may be a comma or an apostrophe after the O.
O apostrophe.
It's like Michael of Bernicia.
Yeah. Then after we had James Gilliland on, we had Sarah, the lioness. And again, I thought that was a very interesting interview. She actually went and did the training, the legal training to understand the law because of what happened to her. She was pepper sprayed and arrested and everything else. And then she went and started studying the law and understanding it. And there's procedures over in the UK courts that you don't have over here, which we should have, but we could still follow based on the UK courts. And she's trying to put in a test case called Lioness Law. And I don't know how she's got on with it, but if her test case works, then it opens up the law to a lot of things that's going on. The whole kind of acts and statutes and, the fact that it's all consent, everything's done by consent. But trying to get our Gardaí to understand that principle. Because again, it goes back to what I've said before on the show, that our TDs will tell you, there's a couple of TDs who will say that we are in a representative democracy, right? But if you're in a representative democracy, that means you should be able to leave it. So if you go into a house or go into a job and you can't leave the house or the job, then you must be a slave. Because the fact that you can't leave must mean that you're a slave. So we must be able to go somewhere into a government department and go, I do not want to be part of this society, thank you very much. And then you sign the form and then you're released from society. But we can't do that. There's nowhere we can go to do that. So that must mean we're a slave. So we're not a democracy, we're a dictatorship. Well,
yeah, true.
Yeah, is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, unfortunately, when the people come around to try and start collecting money for the water meters and you get your bill, it's going to be, you're going to have to stand up then and decide whether you're, are you going to be a slave? Because if you want to be a slave, then expect what comes your way. I just want to comment real quick. Free Willy on People's Internet Radio said Mark Pazio videoed UFOs yesterday, and it's up on YouTube. So anyone who I haven't seen it myself, so all I can say is anyone who wants to check that out, just pop along to YouTube, type in Mark Pazio, Passio, and see what that's about.
Excellent. We'll have a look at that. Always keep an open mind anyway. But Sarah Lioness, I don't know how she got on with her case. We'll have to find out and get her on, because if she did, if she did win her case, then it's going to set a precedent for everybody. But it's in the interest of the system not to let her win, because she'd be exposing quite a lot. Another good interview that we had was Ralph Ring, a technician and scientist. Ralph Ring, in his 80s, he was building anti-gravity aircrafts in the 50s, and they closed them down because of his knowledge and what he's done. Now, he was a mentor. He's a protege of Otis T. Carr, who was a protege of Nikola Tesla. Okay, so that's something else to have on your CV, to say that you're a protege of Otis T. Carr, who was a protege of Nikola Tesla.
Unfortunately, though, a lot of what Ralph said to us was basically saying that, back in the day where people were seeing craft and they were flying and they did look like unidentified flying objects or UFOs, he did actually say to us that a lot of the times, well, he said it to everyone who was tuned in that evening, a lot of the times that what they were actually seeing was man-made technology. It looked like it was out of this world, but from what he was saying, it was man-made technology that this whole anti-gravity thing or 0 point energy, that they had that technology. It's it does exist, and they were making craft for it back years and years and years ago. Yeah, exactly. And he's helping out again. He's helping people because he said now is the time. People are more open-minded, and so he's beginning to help people out with it. And he was with his wife as well. But he was an expert in natural law, and I asked him about the law of karma. And he said, the law of karma applies. It's like the law of gravity. It's the same thing. It's all about energy and how it works. So regardless whether, if you walk off the top of a building and you don't believe in the law of gravity, the law of gravity doesn't give a monkey's whether you believe it or not. You're going to go down. You walk off, you go, I don't believe in the law of gravity, so I'll just keep on walking out straight. No, that's not going to happen. So whether you believe in the law of karma or not, it's kind of irrelevant, because it's just going to apply to you anyway.
And that's what I like about it, because he said anything got to do with natural law should be easy. There should be no resistance. It's only when we force things that's unnatural.
Well, it's like balance, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. So, and he was very interesting, to say he's seen it done and has the T-shirt. And the next guest we had on was Finbar. And we were talking about the Land League. Now, I got involved due to there's a friend of mine, Francis, who was involved with the Land League, and she asked me would I get involved, and then then you got me involved. Subsequently got you involved, Steph. And then you tell people what we were doing. I mean, some people might say, did you have to know the law? Do you have to know this? Do you have to know that? Tell people what we were doing.
Well, I'm one of the people that has a big L plate on my back. I'm learning as I go, and it was great to get involved because they're a great bunch of people, and they're supporting weaker people who don't know about what's going on. They don't have information. They don't have the finances to get the information, and they're walking into court terrified, because I know myself. I was terrified of courts. I hated going to courts. They were terrified. They had the banks looming over them, threatening to take their homes from them, and people were walking in there, and they were quite prepared to hand the keys over and walk out. But the Land League are there to give them support, and it's voluntary. It's free. There's no cost in it, and it's great. It's a great feeling to go down there and to see people going in absolutely terrified and have them walking back out, actually being able to smile again.
And we met that couple on the night, didn't we?
That's right, yeah. A few weeks after we had approached them in the court, they were quite willing to go in and hand their house over. We had the chat with them, and they're still in their home. They're not back into court now until next year. And the chances are, as long as they're with the Land League, they're probably going to be there for at least another 3 years, and hopefully they'll find a solution before then.
That's the idea, just to kind of keep them in the house and keep filling up the courts with cases and fighting rather than just give them up. And Frankie's saying the solicitors and the registrar sitting down together in the same cafe having a coffee. That's quite convenient.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's the way everything goes on in this country now.
Yeah, exactly. And then we seen, you weren't there the day, no, it was myself and Francis were there on the day that the registrar, the solicitor ran out, representing the bank, who he'd nothing got to do with the bank. Yeah. He was helping another solicitor who wasn't there. He was there in the morning but left. Obviously forgot about it. And and that should have been struck out. That should have been, well, I want to do the case and struck it out. But the registrar wouldn't do it and gave it an adjournment for 6 months.
It's typical. It's a rule for one and a different rule for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. It's madness. But the Land League, we'll have Finbar on next week. And the plan of attack is that they want to set up land leagues in groups of land leagues in each county. So if you have a bit of time, you don't have to know the law. You just have to go along. And when you see people, you go up and you say to them in the court, do you have any defence? If not, put them in touch with the Land League, and then that's it. That's just the way it works.
And it's good karma.
Great karma. Because it'll all come back. The next guest we had on, a very controversial guest, was Leo Sagami. And Leo Loin Sagami. And just people, again, it's a bit of a Marmite situation. You either like him or you don't like him. And we were hoping to try and get some positive information out of Leo, but I think for the whole interview he just kind of was more on the negative side than the positive side. But again, you have to tune into the interview and have a listen. But it was interesting all the same. It was interesting information.
I think Leo, if memory serves me, when we got to the end of the interview with Leo, as we always try and do, we listen to all the problems and the negativity. But when we get to the end of the interview, we always try and look at solutions. And I think with Leo, when we asked him, okay, let's stop the negativity now and look at solutions, I think the solutions were just about as negative as the whole interview had been. I mean, he was kind of looking at things from one perspective, and I don't think he could see it from another one.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't know what the motive was there, or the background, but it was interesting all the same. And then we had Captain Randy K, or Randy Kramer, I believe. His nickname was Randy K, but I believe his real name is Randy Kramer. And that he was a super soldier who said that he was working on Mars for 17, 20 years, and they have all the technology to heal. So if a soldier came in 24, 48 hours, he could have a new arm, and then he'd be sent back out again onto the battlefield.
That's right, yeah. He told us about the regen bed, where a soldier will come in, lie on this bed, and whatever limb had been blown off will be reconstructed and kind of organically grown, I suppose. And he'd be sent back out to the battlefield. I mean, yeah, a lot of good information. We've a picture of him here in front of us. He looks like a chap maybe in his 30s, but he kind of said to us that he, inside mentally, he was in his 50s, I think maybe possibly 60s, but when he came back from this mission to Mars, he still had his young body. So, it's hard to digest. We do know a lot of people on the evening of that interview found it kind of hard to digest, and they couldn't accept it. But at the end of the day, this was his experience, So is it true? Is it false? We don't know. We just put it out there.
But even the Russians, I believe Putin made a quote saying, "What you see in Star Trek is what we have." If you think about animals who regenerate, like starfish, regenerate limbs. I mean, who's to say that they haven't got these starfish, found out what the cause is, how it's done, and got the technology to do it? I mean...
Yeah, sure. There was actually a film that you just reminded me. We were watching at home there the other evening. I believe it was one of the Spider-Man films. I think my daughter's into Spider-Man, as you probably know. And it could have been Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. Sorry, not just the regular Spider-Man. It has to be the Amazing Spider-Man. And I believe it was part 1. And even in that, as we've always said, Hollywood always puts it out there what they're doing and what new technology is available. And even in that film, they had constructed this serum, if for want of a better word, that this doctor who had an arm blown off or whatever, he injected himself, and the arm regrew. They'd done it on lab rats, and they mixed some DNA and some other mad concoctions, and they're saying, like back in the film, that the technology was there.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he's Randy Kay is saying it, Hollywood is saying it, Putin is saying whatever you see in Star Trek, we already have. I don't know if it's the old Star Trek or the new Star Trek, but I mean, I think...
No, I remember seeing it in the old Star Trek, yeah. They put them on the bed.
So, I mean, if we think that they don't have it, we're fooling ourselves. Just because it sounds too good to be true, doesn't mean that it ain't so.
Yeah, and now we did say he was a bit annoyed because you're saying that there are troops coming back from the likes of Iran, or not Iran, Iraq, and they could use this technology to help these vets, but they were keeping it for themselves, as usual, which is what they normally do. And I believe there was... what was the movie Elysium with Jodie Foster, where all the rich people were living off the planet, and they had this machine technology where you just lie down, they just scan you, and it would just cure whatever disease that you had, and the Earth was like kind of rogue people going around. Look, Mel Gibson again, what was it? What's the movie? Thunderdome. With Death Wish.
Beyond the Thunderdome?
Beyond the Thunderdome.
Mad Max,
yeah. So it was a bit Mad Max scenario on the Earth, and the rich people were in space. Elysium, I think it's called.
It's on the list. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. And so just because we don't believe it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We haven't seen it. We haven't been privy to it. But, whatever our mind can conceive, I'm sure the technology is there to do it. So it was interesting. Again, the next guest we had on was, after Randy, was Laura Eisenhower, the daughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower, and she said that she had, certain indoctrinations regarding Mars, and Andrew Pasago, who was a lawyer, and he was involved in that as well as a kid, because Dad got him involved because of he was in the military, and he was in black projects and stuff like that. And she was telling us about things that went on. We didn't actually go into her father or her grandfather and what he was involved in and everything else. But again, good information all the same from Laura. Then we had Clive de Carl and Barry Trower on. Now, Clive de Carl, he had rheumatoid arthritis, terminal rheumatoid arthritis. They said that they couldn't do anything for him 26 years ago, and he had to just live with it. And he decided that he didn't accept their diagnosis, and he went off and he found out about magnesium and how to fix it, and getting the proteins for your body. Again, we talk about food, and that's what he did. And now he has a website, and he sells all that stuff, and he educates people about it, and we had him on the show. And again, it goes back to give your body what it wants, and then you'd be fine.
Yeah, and he actually does. He has a representative in Ireland as well. Clive is not in Ireland. I believe he's in the UK, I think. But he does have a representative in what's the name of the place? I should actually think about all these things before I open my mouth. Stillorgan, that's the one.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of anyway, there's an Irish name for it, and I could actually say it in Irish.
Morris?
Yeah. I wasn't going to say that. I heard that years ago.
Trust me to say it.
Okay. Yeah, but he does have a guy in Mickey Morris in Stillorgan who kind of follows Clive's teachings, and he can help people. But rheumatoid arthritis, Clive he cured himself, and we were kind of talking. We were saying to him, "Oh, spontaneous remission." He said, "No, I cured myself." But Clive's a good guy. He does have the website as well. I can't think of the website at this moment in time, but he does kind of sell the products. And magnesium, he said, magnesium, you just get it, rub it into your skin as much as you can. He said it's very beneficial, and your body can't have too much. I think that's what he said anyway.
Yeah. No, I think it. So the website is there. I mean, we might get him on again. Then we had Michael Bevington and Lloyd Morgan on about Wi-Fi and dangers of Wi-Fi and technology. And then we had Daniel Leverity, or Chloe George, or whatever name you want to go with, Danielle. But we had
that good-looking board on Facebook.
And we had a laugh with Danielle, and she didn't swear once on the show, which is brilliant. Right. Because some of the words she comes out with, I have to say, is quite interesting.
Inventive. They're very inventive words.
I have contacted the English Oxford Dictionary a few times and suggested these words, but they turned me down.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I think a lot of her words were they were interesting. Like she got a couple of different swear words, mixed them together, and made new even more swear words. Yeah. But now, can I just jump back real quick to the Michael Bevington and Lloyd Morgan in relation to the Wi-Fi? That was powerful information. I do remember that. And again, I'm going to jump back maybe 12 months before that, when we had Dr. Thomas, was it John? I can't remember the chap's name, from the IDEA. That was the Irish Doctors something. But there's loads of information out there about the dangers and the effects of short-term and long-term exposure to Wi-Fi technology, including microwaves, ovens as well, also cell phones and whatnot. There's a lot of information, and there's actually a great thing on Facebook. I can't remember their name. It's like Parents Against Wi-Fi, or I think it's Parents Against Wi-Fi. You should join that, because if you're on anti-social media, there's the amount of information that they have and they share is fantastic, and you don't have to go searching the internet, you're trawling the internet to get the information. They kind of have it all there, and it's easy accessible. But the information is fantastic. It's stuff that you can print off. You can bring it into your local school or to your local TD and show it to them. And again, because it's a lot of it is done by scientists and doctors, they can't say it isn't true. But Wi-Fi. I think that was kind of the biggest thing that was on the radar this year. I know we did actually do, going back a ways, probably back to 2012, we did do a thing in Kells, County Meath, where we had a kind of a seminar in relation to Wi-Fi, and I think we've done a couple of shows this year. There was kind of the Wi-Fi Awareness Month. I think that's what we referred it to, just to kind of hit home, because so many people are still using the technology, unfortunately. Yeah, exactly. That was the Irish Doctors Environmental Association. Yeah, but you had to get a piece of paper to remember that. Well, hey, if it works. Yeah. You're going to have to rip that technology away from the teenagers. They're not going to let go. But that's what we were told, Steph, because they want to integrate it into people's they want it to be part of your life. They want you to be addicted to it. And from what teenagers already are, they're there. Yeah. Yeah, and they're saying that's part of the makeup of the frequency that it transmits on, and the rate at which it transmits. That it's designed, it can have an effect on your brain, similar to the effect of cocaine or smoking or something like that. That it can make you addicted to the technology. Yeah. Exactly, so we just have to be careful with that. Right, and the next, funny enough, we had Ollie Johansson on. He was assistant professor in this neuroscience technology, and he was on the show, and he was telling us about the dangers, and the same thing again, That's who I was thinking of earlier. Sorry, when we used Ole Damigard, I was thinking of Ole Johansson. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Ole Johansson, that's it, yeah. And the next guest we had on, coming up to November now, we're getting there, Irish Citizens Movement, we had Dermot
Murphy on. And we met Dermot on the Land League night, the launch night. Dermot was there. He came up and introduced himself. And again, great information supporting the Irish water. Everything that's gone on with that is just unbelievable. But again, I really do believe that they want martial law, and they want to upset the people so much that people go out and protest and do things that we wouldn't normally do. And then they say, oh, look, the people are rioting, we're going to have to come in, we're going to have to bring in the curfew. Because part of the Nirrubu thing, if you want to go down that road, is that they have to have martial law in. That's why Ferguson happened in America. They want race riots to kick off. They want riots to go off, and they're trying as much as they can to start off. So they want to bring in martial law. Keep an eye on the news. Watch what's going on. They want race riots, and they also want to have curfews and martial law coming in. And they'll be ramping this up this year. In the next few months, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see more and more killings and trouble and the excuse to bring in martial law, because it's happening time and time again that like there's 2 New York policemen were killed there. Whether that's whether that was done on purpose to cause the problem, or whether it really happened, I don't know. But don't be surprised that when you see that ramping up, that they want the martial law to come in. They need it in before, if Nirrubu is going to happen, they need it in before that happens. You know, they have to have it in. And Ireland's no different, and Europe's no different. The next guest we had on after Dermot was John Irwin. I called him a super soldier, but he wasn't happy I called him a super soldier.
He kind of took offence to that, didn't he?
Yeah. I wouldn't make it.
I'm not a super soldier.
A super guy. I'm not a super soldier.
What was that accent again?
It was Newcastle. So John had a lot of information to talk about, and he's very straight and very blunt, and he's given his opinion what's going on there.
He also invited us over.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah, Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Pack my bags.
Yeah, Newcastle would be good. We're going to have a rough it though. I mean, he has I think he has a shed out the back with sleeping bags. It's not it's not a hotel.
Well, I'll just take your onesie then, Alan.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if you want, whatever turns you on, I don't mind. And the next guest we had on was Dr. Now, I found Dr. Joseph Cipollone very interesting, right?
Yes.
Now, again, you have to ask yourself about certain people with the God complex, right? And I don't think he has that at all. I just think, you know, he's done his research and he has his various opinion on it. And I did like the information that he was talking about. And again, you need to cross-reference it. And if you look at the likes of Bob Fletcher, who's in his 70s and also done the investigations, again, he's going to be on in 2 weeks' time. You know, make your mind up. Do the research and check into it. You know, better to be prepared than that. Then we had Michael Cesarian on. Always good to have Michael on. He hasn't done an interview in a while, so we are glad to nail him and get him on the show. And loads of people enjoyed the interview from the feedback that we got, which is really good to...
Yeah, a few people didn't enjoy it though. If you remember, when we had him and Michael on previously, I think it was all good comments. Everyone was kind of on form. But when we had him on the last time, which was from what we're looking at here, 23rd of November, I do remember there were a few people on the chat room who they said that Michael Sarian, that wasn't his name. They said his name was something else. I can't remember what it was, and that he wasn't on our side. So. Again, as Alan says, you know, you get the information, you cross-reference it, and a lot of the time it's just down to whatever resonates with you.
Exactly. That's really what it is. That's all you can do. We just give the information out and then let you decide. Now, I know there's a few people who said, and sometimes we have guests on and they say, oh, the host didn't really know, about the guest and the information. And their kind of argument to that is, well, that's why we're doing the interview, to learn about it, you know. Yeah. If we knew about it, then why would we need a guest? Would need a guest, exactly. So I don't know why they say that. And after Michael, we had Mark, a good friend of ours, Mark, spiritual medium, Mark Impey, was on. It was a pre-record, but it went down very well, I believe, because I wasn't here that night. But still,
no, it did. It went down very well. Yes, I was at the helm, Studio 2. Well, when I say I was at the helm, I made a few announcements and played the MP3. But no, Mark he's a good guy. We actually done the recording on, I believe it was the Friday, and we played it on the Sunday. But Mark, he's a good guy. He's so down to earth. He's so well grounded. He's a lot of information. He's as we said, he's a world-renowned spiritual medium, but you wouldn't think it to look at him because he's not full of himself. He's just he's every man is what he is. And I believe I wasn't at the show, obviously, in the spiritual healing centre in Oldcastle. But from the feedback I heard, from what Alan told me, that there was a lot of fun had on the night, and Mark, he was well received, and so much so that they have asked him to come back. So
it was a good turnout, wasn't it?
It was a good turnout, yeah. It was the most they had there, so it was a good turnout. And so he's planning to come back in the summer. He'll probably do a workshop on the Saturday and then do the platform on the Sunday. And it's all good fun, you know. Then after Mark, we had Alan Laws on, who's in People Before Profit in the party, and also against the water meters, and have done a lot of sterling work regarding the water meters and showing the danger of the water meters by, you know, putting cooking dye in, and then put the tap on and seeing the dye come through, and how anybody could be poisoned if... Have you seen that video?
No, I haven't.
Basically, what Alan did was...
It can be contaminated.
Contaminated. Basically, you unscrew it, turn the water off, unscrew it. He put cooking dye in, and then put it back on, switch the water back on.
And does it just go to the one house?
Yeah, this house, yeah. Right. So he goes into the kitchen, puts it on, and you see the red coming out of the top. He said anybody could be poisoned.
And that was all done in under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of claims going through with that.
Well,
people can find that out.
Not if they're dead.
Yeah.
Well,
but this is the danger. This is what he's saying. So that was interesting from Alan. Then we had Alfred Weber on, which is again great information. He talks about the timeline change. We don't know about that. We'll have to see. But again, great information from Alfred and all the stuff we talked about there. And then the last one there was Aidan, a comedian, talking about all the bits and pieces who we had on last year for the Christmas as well, just to kind of loosen things up and have a bit of fun, have a bit of a laugh. And that's not bad for 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, but actually, speaking of Aidan's a great guy. I remember before we actually went live, he was a little bit concerned. I'm not going to say worried, but he was a little bit concerned that he said, I thought you only wanted to be on for a short interview. I didn't realise it was going to be like nearly 2 hours. But we did have someone else on after him, so he didn't have to do the full 2 hours. But I remember he was kind of concerned. And then after, when we let him go, before we brought in the second guest, I remember he even Aidan himself said, he said, geez, that's after flying. He didn't realise how much fun he was going to have. But it's always fun here at OYM.
Yeah, it's more like a chat than an interview, because a number of guests have said that to us.
Are you serious? I'm here. Stop sitting here bricking it.
Why?
You're not joking.
So, what's your experience? This is your first time in the studio.
There's not enough cups of coffee.
I know, yeah, well, unfortunately...
I second that.
Yeah. Where's my cappuccino?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I can't do the cappuccino and do the show at the same time.
Go get the onesie.
No, I took it off before you came, because I knew you'd be giving out to me.
Yeah,
so, what's the plans for 2015 for both of you?
Big march in January.
31st of Jan.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we did the rocking around the Christmas tree, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
Yes.
We had a bit of a laugh with that. I did actually download Auto-Tune for Audacity just for a bit of fun.
Did you?
Yeah. I know there's no Auto-Tune used, obviously, in our version, but I just wanted to see what would happen. And? It didn't make too much of a difference.
That's because you can't improve on perfection.
No, you can't.
Self-praise is no praise.
There you go, you know.
Yeah, so we're going to need suggestions for the next one then, aren't we?
What, next Christmas? Yeah.
Anybody going to write a song that we can sing?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll have to have a think about that one and then change the lyrics. I'm sure there'll be a few requests coming in from the listeners, maybe. See what they have to say.
A couple of parodies, yeah. If anyone has any idea for a parody that we could do, send it in. I'm sure we'll give it a go.
So 2015, what are we going to do? What's it going to be for... I mean, 2014 was an eventful year. An awful lot went on. And some good, some bad.
An awful lot of people have definitely opened their minds.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think after the march on the 10th of December and in October, seeing people now beginning to say, this goes beyond the water meters. This is now...
Oh, it's not the water meters anymore. Not from what I'm hearing.
You know, well, it's the government, but the problem is, again, you have to look at the bigger picture. And I know I keep going back to the kind of Planet X thing, but we know that the powers to be, that the financial system, the bail-in, they're looking at doing the bail-in this year. And they're saying there's going to be another 2008 financial collapse, apparently. And if that happens and you have a bail-in, then money's going to be taken from people's savings and pensions and everything else. And is that before things happen on a bigger scale, maybe? You know, being they know that something's going to happen, so they rob all the accounts and then go to their secret underground bases and wait and see what happens. I'm just being like devil's advocate here, but I mean, you know, I wouldn't put it past them. Because we've already done the bail-in in Cyprus. They did the bail-in in Cyprus. And that was maybe a testing ground. So, I don't know.
No, it's hard to know. But I from what I've heard anyway, the property market is going to take a good dive, and there's people talking about going back into a recession again.
Well, that's
again.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I don't think we left it.
No, we didn't.
I don't think we did either. Definitely, the retailers are saying anyway that this is one of the worst Christmases they've ever had, and we're supposed to be, you know, on the up, but we're not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been out there. I mean, I've heard that the shops have been packed, the shopping centres have been packed, but are they just window shoppers and not people actually buying anything?
No, it's from what I've heard anyway. What they're saying is the sales were way down this Christmas. The shops haven't even covered their costs.
Wow, that's bad.
And Christmas is the time of the year that they make their profits.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't sound good.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know will we be here this time next year talking about, you know, doing the annual review next year in 2015, or will we not be here? I don't know. I mean, that's the way I'm thinking. With everything going on at the moment, you just don't know what's around the corner. You really don't.
I'll be honest with you. I know we talk about dates, and dates come and go. We talk about Planet X, Nearaboo. We talk about all these different guests that we've had on who've kind of talked about different timelines, different events that are going to happen. But on the whole, I kind of take it all with a grain of salt. Do I believe we're going to be still sitting here next year doing this? Yes, I believe we will. Because, you know, it just... Some of the information that we've seen or heard during the year, it just kind of sounds so out there. And I know people talk about, well, it's a different timeline. But maybe it's just kind of, I'm a little bit optimistic. I believe that we will be here next year.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed. You know, I mean, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. We do know, we can see what we can see in the sky, the likes of chemtrails. And they were doing overtime today. They were spraying us to hell. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. We'll still do the shows as far as we can, and still have guests on the shows, and get people on and talking about, you know, what's going on, and if there's any information that comes in. Again, you know, obviously a big thank you to all the listeners who donate as well and help, you know, keep the wheels of OYM in motion. This year in June, I think, Steve, it'll be 5 years. 5 years.
Sweet mother of divine. 5 years.
5 years doing OYM.
And you haven't killed each other yet.
No, we haven't killed each other. We've come to blows a few times, but we have.
And we still have our own hair and our own teeth, which is not, you know, that's good.
Barely,
yeah.
Barely, yeah. You have to look at the caricature for that one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's,
I'll be donating hair to both of you.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Well, you've more than we have anyway, that's for sure.
Don't start.
So, but yeah, so I don't really know. We just, you know, again, with the help of the listeners and looking for guests to get on and get the information out there as much as we can. There's, as John Irwin says, if you bury the truth in a barrel full of lies, it's very hard to find what's truthful or not. And your own discernment and your own research is really what it boils down to. And sometimes, you know, we make mistakes and we put something out there and we find out, oh, it's a hoax, and you think it come from a good source and it hasn't. It's like third party, you have a third party divorced twice. So we kind of take it down, or, you know, mention it that, you know, it's wrong information. And there's loads of trolls and shills out there doing what they're doing and getting paid to bring down social media and everything else. So trying to get the truth and trying to get the information out there. But again, it's whatever resonates with you as an individual. And I think what we'll do is the kind of feet on the ground type of stuff is what we're doing with the Land League, is to help out as much as we can. And I think if everybody got involved, even on a local level, whether it's the Land League or the Hub, and just started helping people out and doing, I don't think we're going to get no help from the government, no help from the politicians. They don't care about you. They've never cared about you. So I just think it's going to be people power and the people movement.
Well, that's what the Land League were all about. They were saying that we are just going to help each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about taking plots of land, being donated plots of land,
yeah.
and people growing their own produce and then sharing it and swapping it for other, like people making jams and preserves, and they're swapping it with the people who are growing the produce.
Yeah. Now, Sharon Byrne's doing a great job. There's a couple of families that have been, they weren't going to have a Christmas this year. And fair play to Sharon, and she's put, stuff together, toys and food and stuff for the families. Now, what I'm trying to do as much as I can, myself and Steve, and we're all in the same boat. We don't have two pennies to rub together between the three of us, because we all know we're in the same boat. But we're managing to keep our head above the water just about. But I've got 2 bags of toys there that my son has kind of grown out of, and they're in fairly good condition. So I'm going to give them to Sharon and say, Sharon, are you interested in these? Do you want to give them to a family that, if they need them? If not, I can give them to a charity shop. Either way. So from a practical level, that's what I'm doing, and I'm looking around to see, is there anything else I can do? And that's what we all need to do. The whole idea of community has to come back. We have to go back to community. Keep it local. Keep it, and it's very hard to do, because some communities, as we all know, have their, there's people in them that will never happen, or they'll never get involved. But one of the things that I've mentioned before on the show is time banking, and we went to a Land League meeting. I don't think you were there, Steph, and I spoke to the guys that were there. It was the meeting before Christmas, and I said, if anybody knows a programmer, let me know. One of the guys did. I got in touch with the programmer, had a talk with him, told him what I want to do regarding time banking, and build a system and get it out there for people to start using. So I sent him all the details and the specs and stuff, and so he can have a look and see if he can get involved or if he can help me do it. And so I'm waiting on him to get back to me. And if he can help me put the time banking system together, because I was working on this with another lady, but she got contract work, and that's it. She went off and she had to do the work to pay the bills and all that. So if this works out and we set up a time banking program, again, we'll be pushing it out for free to people, and just little groups can set up their own little systems and start working with each other on time banking.
Yeah, and then you can see the benefits, because you can go to these charity shops and the money goes in there, but you don't know where it actually is going. Whereas if you keep it local, you can see it.
Yeah, exactly. And it
again, gets to the people that really need it.
Yeah, and time banking is about labour as well. I mean, you might not be able to afford to get your car fixed, but you might be able to do some shopping for somebody, or painting or gardening, exchange services. So this person it could be an unemployed mechanic, will fix your car while you go and do some shopping or painting or whatever for him. That's what it's all about. Check out time banking, go to Google and type in time banking. That's what it's all about. It's massive in the UK, very big in the States, not so big over here. A lot of people haven't heard of it.
I think you need a group of givers for that to work.
You have to have givers, yeah. Yeah, you have to have givers.
It has to go both ways.
Yeah, if you have takers, no good. Takers are no good. But see, the great thing is about the time banking system is takers are spotted a mile away, right? Because you only have 3 free credits, and after that you have to give to receive. So the takers will just, after that they go, oh, I'm not doing this anymore, because they're not getting anything out of it.
No.
But so hopefully what you'll have is a time banking system with all givers who actually put the energy in. And that's just the way it is. You got givers and takers in the world. It's just the way it is.
No, they're everywhere.
So we have a few minutes left. It's the last show before 2014. Do we have any New Year's resolutions or restitutions?
Well, come here. Before we get to, I know we've only got a few minutes left. There are some questions and some information that have come in during the show that we might touch on.
What's that, Steve, about the Canadian maple syrup?
Yeah,
that looks lovely.
It does actually. That came in on People's Internet Radio, the PIR chat room, from main admin, and the main admin says 3 parts Canadian maple syrup to 1 part sodium bicarb, heated in a pan, stick it in a jar, spoonful every day will keep the body alkaline.
No, I could do that. I could
definitely do that. Yeah. That's a keeper, is what that is. We also have Maisie from our own chat room. She said there have been reversals of dementia, when we spoke about that earlier, using cannabis oil. How about getting Jeff Ditchfield of www.cannabiscure.info on? He's an excellent interviewee. Well, I've mentioned it now, and I know we'll certainly look at that, Alan. We'll look into that for the new year. I'm just going to go through these in no particular order. Vin sent a link. He said it's a fantastic video on chemtrails. It's in Italian at the moment, but Vin is going to dub it into English, so that's going to be one to watch. I'll post that link up now in a moment. Vibe had a question for us on PIR. She said, Steve and Alan, or Alan and Steve, is Chris Thomas coming back on with you both, or is the poor man still not well?
He's off the radar at the moment. That's all I can say. And we've no plans to get him on at the moment.
Okie dokie. And another listener on the People's Internet Radio called Carrots, obviously the vegetable. He or she was saying, can you name me one person? This actually wasn't a question to us, but it was just kind of on the chat, and I just thought it was kind of interesting to throw it out there. But she was saying, can you give me one person who's done the sovereignty/freeman/strawman thing that, one, didn't get arrested, harassed or tortured by the authorities, 2, still has their private property/house/car/boat, 3, didn't lose their children or partner, 4, currently has a good life, good work, happy family? Well, I don't know, to be totally honest. I'm sure there are people who have gone down that road. How far they got down the road, I don't know. We don't have that information. If anyone else does have the information, or if anyone has gone down the freeman/strawman road, and you're still in your home and you still have a good quality of life, let us know. We'll be happy to put it out there just to let people know. Clive the Carl, the website is ancientpurity.com. I couldn't remember that earlier, thanks to one of the chaps on PIR. Ancientpurity.com is Clive the Carl's website, where you can get loads of information on the magnesium and a lot of other products. You can also purchase them as well. And Fred wants to know, Alan, can you tell us who was on in the next few weeks? I know you can.
Right, okay. Next couple of weeks next week Finbar Markey. The week after that we have Bob Fletcher. The week after that we have a lady called Fiona O'Leary who wants to talk about MMS and the dangers of MMS with autism, and I think she should have a platform to speak about that. I think we hear both sides. And another lady called Joanne Kramer, who I met on Facebook, and she's very tuned in to what's going on in our skies, and very, very stuff that will blow your mind. So and she puts all the photos up on Facebook so people can see them. So she's going to be coming on, and there's a few other guests that we have in hand as well that we're going to be bringing on over the next few months.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
sorry. I'm just going to reply here. Actually, I won't need to reply. I'll just say it now. Carrots was saying, when I said he or she, I'm a cheeky bitch, and a smiley face. Well, I apologise. I don't know about carrots. Are carrots a male vegetable or a female vegetable? I
haven't a clue.
They're orange.
They're orange.
They're orange, yeah, I don't know.
Right, so we 4 minutes. Who's on with Vin later, do we know?
Just Vin himself. That'll be the dulcet tones of Vinny on PIR, straight after us.
Okay.
On his own,
So we didn't go back. We said, what's our New Year's resolution? Are we going to make one? What's the plan for next year?
I haven't even thought about it.
I'm just going to keep on keeping on. I don't believe in making resolutions. I believe in setting kind of goals and targets and achieving them. That's about it.
Just getting up every morning and trying to make things work, yeah.
Survive, yeah. Well, my New Year's resolution is not to make any New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
I think
that's too safe.
Yeah. Don't forget toilet roll.
Don't forget toilet roll.
Yeah. Remember when you were talking earlier about stocking up and keeping food and all this?
Oh, yeah.
Remember we said before, one of the most important things that people don't seem to realise is toilet roll.
Yes, toilet roll.
Yeah, because you know what? In the A-team, you can make anything out of it, an empty toilet roll.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, if you in the 80s, if you listen to Watch MacGyver, get an old toilet roll tube, you make a bazooka over it. Yeah. It's fantastic, you know? Sure. But, again, thanks for coming over tonight and coming on the show.
I want my cappuccino.
You want well, you get one again. We'll organise another time. But
you have a better chance of getting a regular spot.
The dulcet tones of.
I suggest maybe you should get an open your mind onesies made.
Open your mind onesies, yeah.
No, please.
We'll have to think of some designs.
We'll have to think.
Speaking of open your mind T-shirts, if anybody wants one for the new year, we still have some here as well. So if you want to log on, go over to the OYM shop, grab yourself a T-shirt.
Spread the word.
Yeah, because they're going to be very fashionable in 2015.
Go over to the shop there and buy and support OYM. If you can, that'd be appreciated. And thanks for everybody who donated and supported OYM over the year. It's a big help and it's much appreciated. You might see us knocking around maybe next year. You never know. We don't know what's planned. But just a big thank you for everybody who tunes in every week, listens, donates, and does their bit. You know, it makes what we do enjoyable. And we have a bit of fun with it, and we like getting the information out there. So again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking up your time to sit down and listen to us gabble on for 2 hours while we're here. And much appreciated. And thanks to Steph for coming over and doing the show.
Gabbling on.
And doing the voiceovers. And well, Steve, there you go. Another show in the bag. And
another year in the bag.
I'll see you next year anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you next year, which is next Sunday. Finbar Markey. Okay, well, at that time, so, well, take care, everybody. For myself, Alan James, good night.
And from Steph, great to see you guys. Happy New Year.
I was going to say, give the last word to Steph.
Oh, yeah, well, ladies first, you know.
Okay, well, Alan shouldn't have went. Well, maybe Alan should have went second. Anyway.
Right. Are you implying something?
Alan and his onesie.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Anyway, look, go on, stay tuned for Vincent Vin on People's Internet Radio. We'll catch you all again next week. So Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year, everybody.
And we'll do it again. So until then, take care. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Open your mind.